All right, so the House just passed a bill that puts DJI on the covered list, meaning they're banned, kind of. I'm going to explain what that means. Vic Moss has an excellent article, and I'm going to kind of run through that. Also, Ryan Latourette, I hope I said your name correctly, did an awesome interview with Ken Herron the other day, kind of covering what does this actually mean for us that own DJI products now and in the future. So this bill, this HR 2864, basically says that DJI cannot get FCC approval for any new products. Also, their subsidiaries and affiliates cannot either, and I'll talk about that in a little bit. So what that means basically is you're not getting any new DJI drones. The FCC isn't going to approve any of their new drones after it's passed in the Senate. So this bill is only passed in the House. It has to go to the Senate, and then the president has to sign the bill. That's how these laws work. It is not law yet, but it is on the way to becoming one. It's not 100%, but it's probably going to happen. So here's what you can expect. DJI isn't going to get any more FCC licenses, not for drones, not for gimbals, not for mics, not for power stations. That means they're just not going to be able to sell anything inside the United States. It will be business as usual in most other countries. But here, we're going to be out of luck. What does that mean for your current stuff? Well, most likely absolutely nothing. The current bill isn't written so that it's going to brick your DJI device, and actually that would be a very lengthy and difficult process, and you'd have to allow them to do so in order for you to brick your device. So these things, they're going to be just fine if you already have one. Also, those ones in the stores, they're going to be just fine. Just don't do the future firmware updates that will allow you to brick your device if it came to that, which it most likely is not going to. It would take additional language that isn't in the bill in order to make that happen. So if you're one of those people who think, oh, I got to get rid of my DJI drone before it happens, I'd actually probably hold on to it, because if you know anything about supply and demand, if the supply stops coming but the demand does, the value of these drones that you already own probably going to increase, not decrease. I was selling my Mavic 3 here. I'm not going to do that. I'm going to hold on to this bad boy because I don't know that the Mavic 4 is going to be available to us. Unless DJI gets approval for that before the FCC bans it, that might just happen. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Let's talk a little bit more about this ban. Are all Chinese drones affected? No, the way this is written, it is written for DJI drones and their subsidiaries and potentially their affiliates. What does that mean? Well, a subsidiary is a company that they own 50% or more, and an affiliate depends on what definition Congress goes by. DJI would have to own some portion of that. The first two companies that come to mind are Anzu and Specta, right? There are clearly some DJI connections there, but does DJI own either of those companies? I don't believe so. And if that's the case, they could still buy parts from DJI and sell them here in the United States. All of that is to be determined later, but those two companies are probably the two most likely to get also kind of grouped into this ban. That depends on how Congress later defines those companies. There's potential that they won't, and DJI could then be kind of funneling drones in the United States under different markets. Whether it's Anzu, Specta, or something else, that is still a possibility. That is pure speculation. We don't really know how that will shake out just yet. For those of us that are still worried about DJI drones getting bricked, well, Huawei, a phone company, ended up on this list years ago, and you can still use Huawei phones in the United States. You cannot buy them, but they still work on a handful of different networks. So there is some precedence for these things working, right? If I don't connect my drone to the internet, how is it going to stop working? So it is likely that we're still in pretty good hands. I'm going to put a link down below to the article from Vic Moss. You're going to want to read that. It's got more detail. I've got a link to the actual bill. Starts on page 716, where you kind of read about the DJI specifically included in the bill. And I'll also link the Ken Herron, Ryan Latourette video down below, so you can kind of read and watch some of those resources on your own. Really good stuff. Now, at the end of the day, these are just opinions. They don't know, I don't know, but we are making an informed, educated guess as to what is most likely going to happen. Ryan and Vic are two of the most respected people in this industry, and they understand a whole lot more than most of us. This video is just to kind of point you in their direction and cover a little bit of what they've already said. No, I'm not selling my DJI drone, and I'm pretty confident that this thing is going to continue to work for me. Anyway, I hope this was helpful. Questions, comments, leave them down below. No, I do not have all the answers, but if you think you know something I don't, we want to hear about it. Good Good luck, everyone, and happy flying.